This is just one of those days when everything's in a hurry. Your camera has low battery, it's cold outside, it's windy outside, it's getting dark outside, but you still want to make that video, so I have to apologize. This video is a bit chaotic and all over the place. So the weather outside is pretty cool for long exposure photography, but the sun is setting very quickly. It means that we need to get to beach very quickly. Let's do this. Yes! We made it! I love this traveling. This traveling is the best traveling in the world. The quick tips for long exposure photography. So obviously you go outside, it's too bright for having long exposure, so I know everyone's gonna say you're gonna need an ND filter, but what if you have a Samyang lens, which I have right here, and it has a non-removable lens hood, so it means you cannot fit on an ND filter, and even if you could remove the lens hood, the front element sticks out so badly that you can't fit an ND filter on. So my advice is you just dial in the darkest settings you can. You just go f22, ISO 100, and then see how much of a shutter speed you can get. And I just tried it, and I can literally do maybe 0.8 of a second, which is not gonna be enough for long exposure. The clouds are pretty cool and the waves are pretty massive, so I just want to smooth that all out. So it looks like I'm gonna have to take my 50mm lens because I have an ND filter that fits that one. Yeah, that's probably what I'm gonna have to do now. If you would see this view, this is just absolutely fantastic. I mean, it looks great. Obviously you're not gonna see that through the camera. I actually didn't bother with long exposure. I just made a huge massive panorama. That's gonna look very, very gorgeous here. But so I've put on my ND filter on the camera. I've dialed in f16 because that's the smallest aperture I can get for my 50mm, ISO 130 seconds of shutter speed. I adjusted the filter so the exposure looks just so right. I mean, we could go a bit brighter here. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So the color in the sky is very nice because the sunset is actually behind us, and the wind and all the clouds, and oh my god, the reflection in the water, it just looks all awesome. So tips for actually shooting your long exposure: use 2-second timer because you're gonna move the camera when you're gonna press the button. So yeah, so we're at 30 seconds shutter speed, ISO 100, and aperture is 16, and let's see what we can get. Let's go. Absolutely amazing. You should see this photo. If you want to take it even further, you're gonna need a remote control for your camera, and yes, we're gonna do that as well. Why not? How do you use your remote control with your camera? You go to manual settings, to manual mode in your camera, and you spin around your shutter dial until eventually you get to 30 seconds. And if you spin it around even further, you should reach this called bulb mode. If you enter the bulb mode, the camera will take photos so long as I'll be holding this button. So once you're gonna press this button, the camera is gonna turn to the dark screen, and it's just gonna show you seconds, and you'll be able to see how long you've been holding this button here. Luckily, the manufacturers for these remote controls have actually made that you can lock this button so you don't have to hold it. I've adjusted the ND filter just slightly so it's even darker, and I'm gonna go and try and do a 1-minute exposure. Let's try this. I can confirm that 1-minute exposure wasn't enough and the photo was really underexposed. So I adjusted my ND filter slightly, not so dark, and we're still gonna try about 1 minute or 1 minute and 20 seconds. That should be pretty good. Skies are still pretty nice, and the reflection in the water is pretty nice. I'm thinking I'm probably gonna do a time lapse. I feel like doing time lapse. This could actually look really good. Let's do it. windy, so the time lapse is running. Obviously, just as I started to do my time lapse, there were some people with dogs going into the shot, so obviously it's like you find this nice, awesome looking place and it's like, oh, I'm gonna make a time lapse, and just as you press start, always someone's gonna come into your shot. But that's fine, that's fine. We're using like 1/10 of a second shutter, so they should be slightly blurry. And just before I die from cold, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. This video has been quite messy, I'll admit, but you know, done is better than perfect. And yeah, check around for more videos, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.